This is why you shouldn't work with sketchy bosses. In 1968, a 15-year-old boy working at a KFC reported to his father that his boss was abusing him. Once the father of the victim knew all about this, he immediately reported to the police. The boss claimed that his actions were purely in the interest of scientific research. Fortunately, the boss was indicted in the same year. However, after serving only 18 months of his 10-year sentence, he was released. And when he regained his freedom, he became a serial killer. And his name is John Wayne Gacy. If you want to know more details about this killer, watch Kendall Ray's video on YouTube. This is why you shouldn't enter a stranger's apartment. In 1991, Tracy Edwards escaped from his attacker, half naked and partially handcuffed. He ran straight into the police, describing the foul odor and suspicious boxes of hydrochloric acid inside the suspect's home. He also told the authorities about the pungent drum inside the bedroom. When Edwards and the officers went to the apartment for some investigation, they found a house of horrors. Inside are the remains of young men and gruesome Polaroid pictures taken of them. Edwards later knew that he would be the next victim if he did not escape the killer, and his name is Jeffrey Dahmer, a criminal responsible for the murder of 17 young men. If you want to know more about the killer, watch Bailey Sarian's video on YouTube. This is why you should always check up on your coworkers. In early 2000, John Price told his coworkers that if he would not show up to work the next day, it was because his wife killed him. Luckily, his coworkers took the statement seriously. So when John did not attend work the next day, his coworkers immediately went over to his house. They called the authorities upon spotting blood on the front door, and nothing could possibly prepare them for what they were about to see. As soon as they entered the home, they found John's butchered body scattered around the house. And just like what John said, his wife, Catherine Knight, was responsible for the murder. If you want to know more about this case, watch Savannah Beimer's video on YouTube. After watching this video, you will be more mindful of the stories your friends tell you. Ex-con Joseph Jackson heard wicked claims from his former cellmate. He was bragging that he was responsible for unspeakable crimes against young women. The cellmate also mentioned to Joseph that he was not alone in committing these crimes and that he had a partner. Eventually, Joseph decided to contact his lawyer about the gruesome stories he heard. The authorities later found out that the duo's name were Roy Norris and Lawrence Bittaker, also known as the Toolbox Killers. They are responsible for 5 gruesome murders of women aged 13 to 18 in California within 5 months. If you want to know more about the case, watch Savannah Beimer's video on YouTube. This might be one of the most frustrating cases you'll hear about. In May of 1972, Arthur John Shawcross assaulted and murdered a 10-year-old kid named Jack Blake. And just 4 months later, Shawcross did the same to an 8-year-old Karen Ann Hill. After gathering several witness statements, police were able to catch Shawcross. However, he only pleaded guilty to 1 count of manslaughter and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. But just about 15 years later, he was released on parole due to good behavior. A senior parole officer protested against the release, stating that psychiatrists had concluded that Shawcross was a schizoid psychopath, but they let him go regardless, and setting this monster free would be the worst mistake in history. Get ready, because you won't believe what happens in part 2. As you can expect, it was challenging for Arthur Shawcross to adjust back to society. Every time he would move, neighbors would learn about his wicked crimes. In return, they would shame him publicly and outwardly express their aversion towards him. Eventually, Arthur shared his struggles with his parole officers. For some reason, they pitied the criminal and decided to seal his records and smuggle him into Rochester, New York. Just a few months later, he started his killing spree. In 1990, Arthur Shawcross was spotted near a crime scene. Later, police discovered that this man was responsible for murdering 11 women and disposing of their bodies in the river, earning his name as the Genesee River Killer. Watch Bailey Sarian's video on YouTube for more.